Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you, see you again. I hope you all had a nice rest last night. I know if you're anything like me, then when the first time you sleep in a strange bed, it can be difficult to get a good rest. And maybe also you've been working hard before you came on this retreat. So if you feel tired still today or tomorrow, I encourage you to take more rest as well. Don't feel like you have to meditate for 20 hours a day. When I personally take a retreat here in the monastery, as monks we take personal retreats, we go for 2 weeks retreats usually. And for the first few days, I allow myself to sleep as much as I want. Is that indulgent? Just sleep all day? No, I think it's wise, because if you just sleep at the beginning as much as you want, then you're well rested and you get a lot of energy out of that. Sometimes when you get sleepy in your meditation, it's just because you haven't had enough rest. It's just a very natural cause. Yeah? The body needs a certain amount of rest before you get energy in the body and also in the mind. So I encourage you for these few days, if you feel like that, just to take a lot of rest as well. In meditation you can also rest, but also you can, if you feel sleepy, just go and lie in your bed for a while. Yeah. Don't feel like you should be awake all the time. I say that because it can be people who really force themselves at the start of a retreat, and then they never get this energy up because they just don't allow themselves to rest. Now, yesterday I showed you the list of expectations that you should have in your meditation. If you want a successful meditation, then don't have any expectations. It's by having no expectations that the mind becomes still. But I did forget to show you that I also made a to-do list for your meditation. What should you do in your meditation if you want peace? Well, you can probably expect it already. This is the to-do list. And if you've read the title of the retreat, it is Nothing to Do, Nowhere to Go. That is the theme of this retreat. And I took that from a little song that I used to sing when I was a lay Buddhist. And I practiced in the tradition of Thich Nhat Hanh. Anybody know Thich Nhat Hanh? Yeah. He was a very famous teacher in the I think it's Zen tradition, you could say, but he was a bit of a mix of things. And he is very influential in Europe and where I came from. And for years I practiced in his tradition with a local group. It was always so beautiful. And we used to sing this song. I'm not going to sing it now, but I'll just say what it was. It was, happiness is here and now. I have lost my worries. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, no longer in a hurry, or something like that. It's been more than 10 years, but happiness is here and now. If happiness is here and now, there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. That's why I say to-do list. Do nothing. Maybe we should actually start with a short guided meditation for 10 minutes before I talk a little bit more about that. So guided meditation, for those who are new, I just give you some instructions and then you can meditate along. We're all here together. This beautiful hall, this beautiful retreat center. We're here in the present moment. Maybe some of you are anxious about what to expect during this retreat. But don't worry, it's all going to be fine. Notice what it is like to be here right now. What is life like right now for you? Not what is life going to be like, or what was life like in the past. No, what is it like just to be here, right now? No need to change the present moment. Don't need to expect it to be a certain way. Just know the way that it is. Might be pleasant, might for you not be pleasant. But either way, this is the way it is. And we can embrace that. Because we can't change the present moment anyway. And if you're really in the present moment, you can always find some happiness there. This is the happiness of having no worries. Not having to go anywhere. Not having to do anything. You don't even need to pick a certain meditation object per se. like the breath or whatever. Just be here in the present moment and just see what is happening. And we don't go out towards the present moment. We just let it all come to us. The sounds in this hall, the silence in this hall, the feelings in the body, the movements in the mind. We can make peace with all of that. Doesn't matter the contents of the present moment, what you're experiencing, but what matters is how do you relate to it. If you try and push it away because you don't like it, then you're not in the present moment, you're in the future. So your attitude, let it be one of openness, acceptance. And of kindness. And kindness also means that we're not creating unnecessary suffering. So if you feel you need to move your body just to be a bit more comfortable, then that is also being kind towards the present moment. And if you lose sight of the present, and that's also okay. Remember, no expectations of our mind, of our meditation. Just gently bring the mind back to the present. Or it will do it by itself. Get back to the present. You don't even need to bring it back yourself. This is just a short guided meditation. Or maybe you get a little inkling of this happiness and peace. Happiness of peace that I've been talking about yesterday a little bit already. Happiness is here and now. I've lost all worries. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. There is no need to hurry. You know what's difficult about teaching retreats? Stilling your mind, and I get so into the peace, and then I have to talk about things, but my mind is sometimes still so still, I don't know what to talk about. Nothing comes up. So I didn't go too deeply into the peace, otherwise I wouldn't know anything to say. But if for you during this retreat, you suddenly don't know anything to say, and that's great, because you are not sitting here, so that's fine. You go as deep into peace as you want. Now, a little bit more about the schedule that I didn't get to talk about yesterday is that this afternoon and tomorrow morning there will be optional yoga for people to join, and I will not be there because I'm not a professional yoga teacher, but we get Sharanga, who is a trained yoga teacher, to teach the yoga for you, and she'll also do some meditation with it as well. So although it says an hour of yoga, there will be maybe half an hour meditation as well. And if you've never tried it before, I recommend giving it a go. During yoga you can also be mindful of your body. It doesn't matter if you can't do any of the postures, you know, that they will teach you. It's more about being in the present moment, connecting with your body. And also if you sit a lot in meditation, it can be helpful to stretch out a bit, get rid of some of those pains. So I recommend you visit those yoga sessions, give it a shot, but you don't have to if you don't need to, or if you don't want to, sorry. And then, this afternoon, we will also have, I believe, a guided meditation. Am I right? Or is that only starting tomorrow? I think so. Well, I'll have a look at the schedule. Because it was either the yoga replacing that or not, I can't remember now. But whether there's guided meditation or not, tonight we have a question and answer session as well. And as I said before, things on this retreat, are optional, so you can come if you want. I hope you come. If there's nobody here, that's also great, then I can just meditate. But yeah, there's guided meditation this afternoon as well. Great. So we'll do something like we just did, but a bit longer. I think when I got into meditation, that was always a very helpful way for me to learn how to meditate, those guided meditations. So that's what I will try to do as well. But about the questions and answers, you can put to keep noble silence. You can keep, thank you. Yes. See, I don't even remember my own retreat schedule, being in the present moment. But you're right, there will be a group meditation, which basically means I will guide it as well, at 4 o'clock. And yoga will be at 3 o'clock. Oh, but first, after this talk, lunch. That's the only thing you have to come. Well, I know sometimes my talks are a bit random. As I said, I've sort of been trained that way, but remembering lunch, I once heard about this research they did. And they went into American courts and they looked at the judgments that the judges gave to the defendants. Yeah? Did they give them a mild penalty or a severe penalty? So they looked at the same kind of offenses, and then they judged, did the judge punish him or her or them badly or not? And what they found is, when did the judges give the least severe penalties? When were they most lenient? It was right after lunch. Because they were all happy, and content with their belly filled. And then, they're so forgiving. Okay, maybe this person drove through a red light, but no, this is subconscious, of course, but that's very surprising, well, in a way, that you think that they should always be objective. That's how judges are trained. But when they're happy and content from lunch, they're more kind as well, more forgiving. So I hope that if all of you had breakfast this morning and that you'll have lunch later, then you'll all be very kind and forgiving. Maybe if my talks are nonsense, or also be kind and forgiving towards yourself as well. But that's not the real reason why I say you have to come for lunch. It's more like I don't want people to go in, like fasting or stuff like that, You should have to be kind to your body. But anyway, the questions and answers, I was actually talking about. So, to keep the noble silence, you can write down your questions in the back here and put them in a little basket. And then I will answer those questions. Or attempt to anyway. And 2 days ago, there was an ordination in Jhana Monastery, a novice ordination, always very inspiring. And the nuns already came then, because it's easier for them to come when all the other nuns were coming. So they only had to do one drive all the way from their monastery, Dhammasara. And when Ajahn Brahm learned that they were coming to my retreat, he told them, please ask very difficult questions. And then I said, no, please don't. But yeah, you can ask difficult questions, and then I might give a very simple answer. But what did Ajahn Brahm give as an example of a difficult question? Venerable, do you remember? What is the meaning of life? So if that is a question you have, then please, you can put that in the box, and we'll see what the answer will be. But there's probably many ways that you can answer the question, what is the meaning of life? one way to find it out for yourself, what is the meaning of life, is by diving into the great silence that I mentioned yesterday. Questions and answers are blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Hopefully a little bit of wise blah, 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 and not only nonsense. But it is still blah, blah, blah. It is still words. It's all concepts. In meditation we go beyond words and concepts and see what life is really like. We still the mind down. Find quiet within. And that is where you find all the answers. Not only about the meaning of life, but also all your other questions about meditation and so forth, about happiness, about suffering. But please answer or put as many questions in the box as you like. But even in the end, if you want to answer all your questions, you have to go deep inside your mind, and see what is there. Then you'll find the great silence within. And that is what we will try to do during this retreat. Find this happiness and peace there. And then with that happiness and peace, then use that to ask all the deep questions of ourselves. What is life about? But I'll talk about that later. First, how do we actually find silence and peace within? It's easy for me to say, great peace, find great peace within. And I hope you're inspired when I say that. Then you sit down to meditate, and what happens? Is it great peace within? Well, maybe sometimes, but if you have a mind and it's not enlightened, then it won't be like that all the time. That many times, not great peace within, can be turbulence within, a lot of movement, a lot of thinking. And how do we still the mind? How do we get rid of this inner conversation that's always going on within? There's two ways to try and make the mind still. And to illustrate those two ways, I will use a very famous simile, famous in the BSWA of Ajahn Brahm, and nothing really beats it, so I'm just going to use it. And I'll use this bottle as an example. So this bottle, the water within is your mind. How do you get the water in this bottle to be still? Many of you have seen this before, so you already know. But when I say this, reflect upon it also in your meditation. What is this simile about? It's actually very deep. How do you get the water to be still? For those who don't know, think about it for a moment. There's two ways to try and get the water still. You see, it's moving all the time. But maybe if I hold it still. Yeah, it's getting a little bit stiller. And when I talk, it starts moving. So maybe if I stop talking. It gets pretty still, but it's not completely still. So this is one way that people try to still their mind, by holding it still, by forcing it still, by beating down upon the mind. You have to be still. Don't think. It works a little bit. You get somewhere. You might even stop some of the thoughts, but it only lasts so long, and it only goes so deep. Many people might get stuck there. They think, I've got really peaceful meditation. Look at how still the water is in this bottle. It's much stiller than other people who are like this. At least I'm like this. But if you want complete still water, of course, many of you know what you have to do. You have to put the bottle down. Now it's still moving a bit. Still moving. Maybe I should hold it again. That's what you do in your meditation. You don't trust the letting go. So okay, Sunyo says letting go. Okay. Put the mind down, just let it go. Still not working. These meditation instructions are bad. No. What you have to do is let go and wait. You step back and don't do anything. And then, eventually, the mind becomes really peaceful, becomes still. When you let it happen, and you don't make it happen. This is counterintuitive, because in life we're always making things happen. But in meditation, it's more like the silence happens to us. We don't make the silence. It's like the silence in this hall. When nobody's speaking. We don't make that. It's just the natural state of this hall. So too with the mind, it's natural to become still if we let it go. And you have to get some trust in that process. Trust in letting go. And this is why I also had the to-do list. Yeah? The to-do list. There's nothing on there for people who can't see. Just it says to do at the top, but underneath there's nothing. And we're not used to that in life. So it will be natural, you sit in your meditation and you try and do stuff. As I said, it helps to some extent to try and make the mind still. But at some point you'll have to realize that the best way to make the mind still is to stop doing and to trust that the mind will become still. Ajahn Chah also gave a beautiful simile that he repeated very often. It said, it's like the leaves on the tree. The leaves on the tree, there's many trees around here. You can have a look if you don't trust me, but if it's the wind is blowing, what do the leaves do? They flutter and they move. But if there's no wind, then the leaves become still. And the wind is like the craving and the desire and the anxiousness, the restlessness in our mind. We create the movement of the mind through all those things. And if we just stop desiring, stop lingering in the past, stop craving for the future, and it's the natural state of the mind to become still. And two of the great ways that the mind gets moved are through the past and the future. Living in the present moment, what is there to plan? What is there to worry about? Nothing, because plans are about the future and worries are about the past. So we can let go of those things, at least during meditation, and trust that the present moment will take care of you. And then the silence will slowly become natural. It'll come to you. And you don't need to force the silence like this. When I was a kid, I was not silent. Especially during meal with my parents. Remember very well me, my two parents and my brother, when we had meal together in the evening time. I was always talking about what happened at school, about what I learned at school that day, or what I was building with my Legos, and this blah, 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 always talking. And my parents at some point invented a little game. And the game was called 1, 2, 3, now we start. That was the name of the game. That's a silly name, but when anybody around the table would say 1, 2, 3, now we start, that means the game started. And the game was who can be silent the longest. And my mother always lost first, actually. But it was, of course, it was to get me to be silent. And usually my mother lost first, then my brother, then I would lose. Just you say something. And my father would always win. Always win. And one day I decided, okay, I've had enough of my father always winning the game. He was always silent the longest. I'm gonna win this time. I'm gonna force myself to be still, right? You know, just like forcing it to be still. I force myself to be still. Eating, not saying anything. And my mother, of course, lost again, and then my brother lost. They said something, but my father, he was also set on winning, just like me. He has that attitude. So after the lunch, after the meal, I still said nothing, and I just went up to my room, said nothing, didn't stick around, just. After half an hour, my father comes up to my room and hands me the phone, and I'm like, "Hello?" And he's like, "Ah!" He said, "I won." I never forgave it. No, I did. But I never won the game. Because just forcing yourself to be silent, that doesn't work. But yeah, that's one way to force yourself to be silent. But that's also with talking here. Don't force yourself to not talk. Just enjoy that you don't have to talk. If I would have approached it like that instead of I don't have to talk. Maybe then if my father would have handed the phone, I would have been more mindful and like, this is just a trick to get me to talk. But that is about silence, about talking. But you can apply the same idea in your mind. Don't force yourself to be in your mind, because eventually something will come up and you'll just start the whole conversation in your mind again. But if you just enjoy the peace in your mind, and you're just happy to be with it, just enjoy that silence. One of the reasons we think so much is because we like to think. Just get some sort of enjoyment out of it. Some sort of excitement, or maybe some sort of comfort. For example, if you think a lot about the future, what's going to happen later today, what's going to happen after this retreat, what's going to happen next year, and so forth. If you think about that, it might give you some comfort because you think you're prepared for the future by thinking about it a lot. You think about things you can prepare in a sense. But we think way too much about the future. We think again and again the same things, trying to prepare for the future, and what happens? Something else. you try to prepare for the future, and it's always different. It's just like if I think about what I'm going to talk about, then I never talk about that. I always talk about something else. So why do we think about the future so much? No need to. Or about the past. The past is already gone, said the Buddha. The future is yet to come. Instead, be in the present. That's where you can find peace. I really struggled with finding peace when I was a student doing my thesis. Before I came to Jhana Monastery, I was studying engineering in Delft University in the Netherlands. And I studied precision engineering, doesn't matter what it was, but the thesis I did was really a complicated thing. And you had to think about it a lot. That's the whole goal of university. They teach you how to train. They teach you how to think. So I was thinking during university, thinking all morning, all afternoon, sometimes even being there at night, thinking about the little machine that I was building. It was a little machine, and I had to prove that you can use certain fluids to make something move very precisely within a few nanometers. That's why precision engineering. So I had to really design this machine, and I was thinking about it all the time. And then when I went home by train to Rotterdam where I lived, in the train I was always thinking still about my machine, how to make it better. And then when I got home, when I was eating, still thinking about my machine, and laying in bed thinking about my machine, dreaming about my machine, waking up thinking about my machine again, everything thinking about my machine. And after a while I realized, the more I think about this machine, the worse the machine is getting, because I can't think clearly. I was getting like a burnout. Some of you who had burnout, it wasn't like a super serious burnout for me, but I was realizing that I was getting there. And some of you who might have had that realize what that can be like. Maybe better than me. And just always thinking about things and never finding peace in the moment. And I had already been meditating for a while then, for quite a few years, maybe 10 years already almost. But even in my meditation, thinking about my machine again. So I had to figure some sort of trick out to trick my mind into just letting the machine be in university. Everything about the thoughts about my machine were at university. And when I came back home, then I could just find peace there. What I did, I don't know if any of you have ever been to the Netherlands, but we've got many canals there all over the place. It's a very watery country. Most of it is below sea level, so those canals are to pump all the water out. And in Delft you also had a canal, and there was a big canal circling most of the university. You've got this university with all these buildings and stuff, a big campus, and then this big canal around it. And I made a resolution. The thoughts about my machine cannot cross the canal. When I walk over the bridge to the station, then all the thoughts stay behind. There, they cannot cross. So that all my thoughts for my future. This literally was my future because it was my thesis. If I messed up the machine, I couldn't get my master's thesis, and then I couldn't ordain because that's another story, but I will not tell that now. But I already wanted to become a monk at that time anyway. But it was my future, so I had to let go of my future. But it helped to have that physical boundary and just pretending like those thoughts couldn't cross. And that really helped me to stay in the present during my train ride back home. And when I was home as well, just decided not think about that machine. Of course, it's not 100% fix, but at least 60-70% of my thoughts about the machine settled. And I say that because I want to invite all of you, instead of talking for 10 more minutes, to go outside and go to the gate of Jhana Grove. If you are capable of walking there with me in a moment, we'll walk up there. We have to be careful of traffic because we're with a big group, but we walk up there, and what do? We go outside the gate. Then we leave behind all our thoughts of the past, all our thoughts of the future, everything that's outside of Jhana Grove. Some people traveled many miles to come here. All that world out there, we leave outside the gate. And we step inside Jhana Grove. And this monastery, this retreat center, that's all there is for us. And when we go out after the 9 days, then all the thoughts about the outside world, they will be there, ready to be picked up at the outside of the gate again. It's like having heavy bags, the past and the future that we're carrying along. Imagine that we put those bags down outside of the gate. They'll still be there, they'll be safe, nobody's gonna steal them. But while we're in here, that past and future, we don't need to carry that around. So I want to make that a physical thing. Does that sound like a good idea? Yeah? Okay, so let's all go there together. Okay, this is a tradition, maybe we should keep that. So when Ajahn Brahman gives a talk, then people always say at the end, Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And that is not towards the teacher, but towards the ideas that have been expressed. So you internalize that, oh, these are great ideas, happy, 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 good, good, good. So let's all join outside in the car park. Just go and get your shoes and whatever, and then I'll meet you there in a few minutes.